Job seekers in the Big Apple may have an easier time landing that dream job now, or at least a fatter paycheck. Starting today, employers advertising for jobs in the city must include a salary range in the description, including a specific minimum and maximum dollar amount. Our next guest, Salary.com's Vice President of Consulting, David Turetsky, joins us now with more. So a lot of people wondering who's getting really the good end of this when you have this transparency on the table.
Hey, Rochelle. So I think what happens is you're creating the right environment so that people can understand what it is they're being asked to do and how much are they going to get paid for it. Too often we have people who go into interviews not really understanding what the pay is going to be for that role until they get very deep into the interview process, and that causes a lot of distrust.
David, when you take a look at, I guess some critics out there are saying, yes, this is a step in the right direction, but more needs to be done. Salary ranges are going to be in good faith. There's no penalty for paying someone outside of the range posted. What do you say to that?
I'd say that no law ever goes far enough, but what we're trying to do is set up an environment where there's better information for both the job seeker as well as the employer. Having that understanding and that appropriate understanding about what it is that this job is going to be paying gives them gives the candidate a really good understanding about whether or not this is the right job for them. And as well, it also kind of self-selects out some people who might be just kind of wasting time, tire kicking, because they won't be interested in that job if it's not paying enough.
Now, let's talk pros and cons here, because, one of the pros is that this is expected to help shrink gender and racial pay disparities. But then a lot of people might be looking at some of these, perhaps seeing these salary ranges, saying, look, I don't have any room to grow. I'm not even going to bother applying there. What do you see as the main pros and cons when you look at this sort of legislation?
Well, I think the pro is always giving more information is better than less information. And when you're giving that person the ability to see what the range is of pay, they can make that decision for themselves. Do I stay where I am and leave the job I have and, with the grass always being greener? If I understand that the pay is what it is at this company, will I actually grow? That's a different story. That gets into my career development and the career frameworks that are available. So it takes that employee, that potential employee, to be asking, what's the next steps here? Where can my career grow? So they have to be better informed about, being able to ask the right question. What's the promotion potential? If I think my pay is going to be close to that maximum, I really need to be asking, what's the next step for me? And of course, the con is that we may not be getting the right people for that job because they may self-select out because it's not paying enough. But to be honest, in this competitive market for skills, I really doubt people are going to be turning away just because the pay range may not meet exactly what their hopes and dreams are. Remember, this is only about base pay. The ranges are posted about base pay. We're not dealing with benefits. We're not dealing about with bonuses or stock. This is just base pay ranges.
It's an important distinction there. David, when you take a look, I guess, at this movement that's happening now when it comes to pay transparency, so this law taking effect in New York City this week, California has a pay transparency law taking effect in January. Do you see this momentum continuing and maybe getting more big cities on board with pay transparency?
Absolutely. This is inescapable now. I mean, we have the internet. And so you can find out what ranges of pay are on the internet anyways. And so once the big markets of New York City and California start to go towards transparency, there's really no turning back. It really will be a now cascading effect of other markets now taking this on. Colorado was one of the first ones to bring this. And what we've seen now is that when you see jobs posted, a lot of jobs are now coming with pay ranges, even though they're not really required. So it's a step in the right direction. It certainly is.
I think it's interesting that also violators could ultimately be fined up to $250,000 for violating that. So certainly a lot on the table here. A big thank you for joining us, Salary.com Vice President of Consulting, David Turetsky. Thank you for having us.